Go ahead, Madhuri.
Okay. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I have in text 48, the cosmic creation is working under the influence of three modes of external potency of the Lord. I didn't get this point. Can you explain this, Prabhuji?
The material nature, this whole creation is actually working under the superintendence of material nature. And material nature means three modes. Devi Esha Gunamayi. Krishna says in Bhagavad, this material nature, Gunamayi, is actually consisting of three modes. So everyone is controlled in this world by three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance, which are like invisible ropes which control or bind practically everyone. So that's how the living entities are actually controlled in this world. So this body that we have, no matter however exalted a person may be, including up to Lord Brahma, they have a body which is under the influence of three things: Kala, Karma, and Guna. So Guna is nothing but the material nature. So material nature controls this body through gunas.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Sorry, Madhuri. Raise this hand. Shankarananda Garam Prabhu, you can go ahead.
Dandavat pranams, Shankarananda Prabhuji. I have a question.
Yes, Mataji, please go ahead.
So in Srimad Bhagavatam 3.5.45 in the purport, it is said that the theory of the reflection of the Supreme can be clearly understood without difficulty by any sincere common man. What is this mean, Prabhu?
I think Prabhupada explained that also in the further in the purport that in theory of reflection means when you see the sky and the stars are reflected in the water.
Yes.
Okay? That reflection is not actually the real, but Prabhupada actually went in a different direction, explaining that the stars are the part of the sky. Sky is the whole, and the part is the stars. So when you see the reflection of stars and sky in the water, you know that you understand that the stars are actually part of the sky. Okay, they cannot be independent.
Yes.
The sky cannot exist independently. They are part of sky. Okay, so similarly, living entity is actually part of Supreme Lord. So originally, Supreme Lord exists in the spiritual realm, and all the parts also exist there. What we see here in the material world is a reflection of that. Here, every living entity is like a small star, which is the part of the universal form of the Lord. So we all exist actually in the one sky, which is like the supreme, universal form of the Lord. So we all exist in that form, and we are part of that form. So there is always difference between part and the whole.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Haribol Mataji.
I have two questions, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Text 49 purport, the last sentence. One cannot escape the vigilance of the powerful material nature unless he leads a God conscious or devotional life. Sometimes ago, you mentioned that the human being's activities are caused by sunlight, moon, wind. Is it related to this, Prabhuji?
Could you read the sentence again, Mataji?
Okay. It's text 49 purport, the last sentence. One cannot escape the vigilance of the powerful material nature unless he leads a God conscious or devotional life.
Okay. So this is just to explain that the laws of material nature are very stringent. Like sometime we can escape or we can befool the mechanism of law and order in this world, right? We can actually get away from the laws of this world by proving something that is not really true. But that is not possible with the stringent laws of material nature. This whole creation works or functions under very stringent laws, and we cannot befool the material nature. So everyone must rigidly remain under the control of material nature. But when a person actually takes, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mam eve prapadyante maya metam tarantite. Those who actually take shelter of me, they can easily cross over Maya. So that's what Prabhupada is actually mentioning in this sentence.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I have one more question. Can I ask, or you want me to wait the last?
Let's
Other
see.
devotees may ask questions.
I think no, you can go ahead, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. But this is text 42. We read it yesterday. The purport of text 42. It says, knowledge must be followed by detachment. That's the way of self-realization. These two essentials for self-realization, knowledge and detachment, become manifest very quickly if one performs devotional service to the lotus feet of the Lord. Can you explain this, Prabhuji?
Okay.
Detachment and knowledge.
The knowledge and detachment are actually considered the two important aspects of self-realization, Jnana and Vairagya. In fact, the scriptures declare the Jnana and Vairagya to be like children of devotional service. But a person doesn't, who is actually practicing devotional service, doesn't need to separately endeavor for Jnana and Vairagya. But if a person, having Jnana and Vairagya does not practice devotional service, then that Jnana and Vairagya will actually soon fade away. And this you can see from the scriptural references, all the demons, very powerful demons like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, or, even the different demons like, Madhu, Kaitava, or Mali, Sumali, Malyavan, these were different demons, very, very powerful demons. They all performed severe austerity. They had detachment. They exhibited detachment to great extent because, like Ravana, Kumbhakaran, and Vibhishan, they three performed tapasya for thousands of years. Even Ravana and Kumbhakaran, they performed tapasya for thousands of years. So, and without any food or, Ravana especially performed tapasya without eating any food or anything for thousands of years. We struggle just one day if we don't eat on Ekadashi, we struggle a lot. Ravana performed tapasya for thousands of years without eating any food. That definitely requires vairagya, detachment, right? And he also had jnana. He had a lot of knowledge. In fact, Ravana was considered one of the great pandits in many subject matters. He was highly learned in many, many subject matters. So jnana and vairagya, there was no scarcity, but he had no devotion. So eventually he was destroyed. So therefore, a person who has jnana, who has accumulated jnana and practiced vairagya, but if he has not practiced devotional service, doesn't get any benefit out of it. In fact, the person gets destroyed. Generally, such a person becomes demoniac and very proud and arrogant and is eventually destroyed. But a person, on the other hand, who's practicing devotional service, janayati asu vairagyam jnanam chayadahetukam. A person who is performing devotional service, he automatically develops. Janayati asu. Asu means without any cause. So a person doesn't have to have a cause to develop Janayati asu vairagyam. Generally in this world, if a person wants to develop vairagya, there has to be some cause. Like some frustration happens, some failures happen in life, then a person develops vairagya. No. A person who's practicing devotional service naturally, without any cause, develops detachment from everything in this world. Janayati asu vairagyam. And jnanam chayad hetukam. And even jnana he develops without any hetu. Generally in this world, people want to accumulate jnana for some reason. I want to study in the university because I want to get a degree, PhD or double PhD, whatever. I want to have a degree because that has some value. Similarly, I want to study some books to show my scholarship or to my learning to others. Okay? So this kind of learning is not a hetuki, but a person who practices devotional service develops jnana also without any hetu, without any motive. So this is actually very crucial and important principle. Devotional service is actually the most important and crucial aspect of one's sadhana. Jnana and vairagya automatically develop for a devotee. He doesn't need to put a separate endeavor for that.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Sitarani Mataji, you can go ahead next.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. In the 47 text purport, here they mentioned the labor of non-devotees is far greater than that of the bhaktas. How come, Prabhuji? Can you explain this context?
Sorry, Madi, what is labor devotees far better than?
The labor of non-devotees is far greater than of the bhaktas. Like, how come the greater than bhaktas, Prabhuji, non-devotees? Labor of the non-devotees. You can see the purport 47 text.
47. Vijay Prabhu, can you share that?
Yes, Prabhuji. So 47 purport where, Mataji?
Yeah, in the first paragraph, Prabhuji, after the Brahma Jyoti, although there is a destination is not important. Yeah, the 1 minute. The labor of non-devotees is far greater than that of bhaktas.
Okay, so okay, this is a proper context, Mataji. Actually, I was wondering what you're saying doesn't make sense, but this is in context. He says, read the whole sentence. He says, although their destination is not so important, Prabhupada talking about non-devotees. Okay, although their destination is not so important in comparison to destination of devotees, the labor of non-devotees is far greater than that of bhaktas. So in this sentence, Prabhupada is actually talking about invariable proportion. The non-devotees, their labor is very hard. They actually work very hard, but the destination they attain is actually very insignificant. Whereas devotees, they don't labor so hard, but the destination they attain is actually supreme.
Okay, Prabhuji.
So for example, take an example. Hiranyakashipu performed tapasya for thousands of years. He actually stood on his toe of his left foot for thousands of years, raising his hands up, so much so that his whole body was eaten by the ants. There was only his bones left. That must have been very, very painful, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
And what was the result? He got killed at the hands of Lord
Narasimha.
And what tapasya did Prahlad Maharaj do? Was there any endeavor on part of Prahlad Maharaj compared to Hiranyakashipu?
Yes, nothing. Just
Practically nothing.
Yes.
But what is the destination he attained?
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, Prabhuji. Yes, I understood. Thank you so much.
Sachinanda Gauram Prabhu, I know you have raised hand, but I'll give preference to others because you have already asked question. Sukeshri Mataji, you can go ahead next.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, this is Srivatsa. I had a question regarding you were mentioning how just through devotional service one can get gyan and vairagya. And, I mean, it makes sense how vairagya can come through devotional service, meaning that like one gains a higher taste and then the material, like it's easy to like give up the material world. But my question about gyan is that like through devotional service, it makes sense how like Paramatma can guide someone, and how one can know what to do in devotional service thanks to Krishna's mercy. In that sense, Gyan is there. But at the same time, I remember reading once about how Jiva Goswami mentions how it's a devotee's job to also go into Shruti and Smriti and like study Bhagavatam, obviously, and because otherwise they're running with their eyes closed. So I was just wondering how does the whole Gyan situation work? Because I'm very confused.
Actually, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mata Smritir Jnanam Apuhanam Cha. From me comes knowledge, forgetfulness, and remembrance. Right? So, Jnana actually, the source of Jnana is not our endeavor, not even the body or the intelligence in the body or the memory that we have, because memory, forgetfulness, and knowledge, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, comes from me. Now, take a simple example. For example, I may have lot of knowledge. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives actually a beautiful example in this regard. He says, a person who has lot of jnana or a lot of knowledge, who has studied a lot of scriptures, okay, that person, if he doesn't have devotional service, is like a washerman's donkey. And that example is so appropriate. Just imagine like a washerman's donkey. Here we don't get to see the washerman's donkey, but in India it's very common, especially in villages. A washerman's donkey carries loads and loads of clothing, none of which he can wear himself. The donkey roams naked, right? So he has so much load of clothing on his back, but he still roams naked because that clothing is of no use to him. Similarly, a person who studies so many scriptures but never developed devotional service, that knowledge actually remains such a dry thing. He cannot utilize that at all. The real knowledge actually is devotional service, because ultimately all the knowledge of the Vedas culminates in devotional service. So if a person has not developed devotional service, even though, actually I was reading other day in Vishnu Purana, Parashar Muni is describing the definition of naked. Generally, even think, person who is not wearing clothing, that is naked. But he says a person who has rejected the conclusion of the Vedas, which is actually devotional service in one way, or a person who rejects the Vedas in one way, is actually naked. So a person who doesn't have devotional service is, even though if he has knowledge of the Vedas, doesn't really have any knowledge. Because the purpose of knowledge is to develop devotional service to Krishna. Just like, if a person studies law, he goes to law school and studies the law, and then he becomes criminal, right? He becomes criminal. Does he really have any benefit of the study of law? Fools will say, yes, he's utilizing, he knows perfectly how to break the law. But that's not the purpose of studying law, right? The purpose of studying law is to become lawful citizen. Because sooner or later, a criminal is punished. He's caught and he's punished. So simply having knowledge and the ultimate conclusion of knowledge is to develop devotional. If that is not there, then that knowledge is useless. On the other hand, a person who is practicing devotional service, that means he has already attained the conclusion of knowledge. This actually Kapila Muni explains very beautifully in the third canto of Bhagavatam as well. Yatha Moolataro Nishechanena Tripyanti Tad Bhujopashakha. Just take an example. If you take a plant or a tree, you want to water it, what is the process of watering it? To pour the water in the root, right? Now, just imagine if a person who is completely ignorant, never went to even school, he pours water on the root of a tree. And a person who actually studied the botany, okay, who studied the botany means he knows the science of plants. He knows exactly when you pour the water in the root, what happens, how the plants takes the water and nourishes the entire tree. Each and every branch and leaf, how they are nourished by that water through the root. He is fully aware of that science. And he waters the root of the tree. Is there any difference between the results of the two?
No.
No, right?
Yeah.
Both will be the same result. And even if a person who has never studied anything simply keeps watering the tree, he sees the results. He automatically realizes, right? If I simply water the root of a tree, whole tree will be nourished. He has a perfect scientific knowledge, even though he doesn't know the intricacies of botany, but he has a perfect scientific knowledge, right? So this is how exactly the jnana, vairagya, and bhakti works. Bhakti is like watering the root of the tree. No. And jnana and vairagya, jnana is nothing but like knowing the intricacies of how the tree is nourished, you know, by watering the root. But a person who actually waters the root of the tree anyway knows the science. He may not know the intricacy, but he has the realized knowledge of that.
Okay, so just to make sure I got it correctly, you're explaining how someone who's practicing devotional service is already a jnani because he's basically understood the conclusion of the scriptures, while as a jnani might not understand the conclusion of the scriptures, and he might go, if he doesn't understand the conclusion of the scriptures, his knowledge is practically useless.
Yeah, he's like a washerman's donkey, as Lord Charan explains.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. I have
Really?
is it just like for follow-up questions, should I wait or is it okay to
Go ahead. You can
Oh,
ask the
okay.
question.
About the whole idea of Shabda Praman? So so like you're mentioning now how the conclusion of the scriptures is is what's most important, and how much of an emphasis should a devotee place on Shabda Praman in the sense of like knowing Shastra in that sense? Because if someone's already performing devotionals, how much emphasis should they put on Shabda Praman? Because it can be very useful in preaching, I guess.
Well, this is understood in a way that knowledge in this world can be attained basically by three ways: Pratyaksha, Anuman, and Shabda. So if you try to analyze, Pratyaksha is actually more or less useless because whatever we see or perceive through our senses is always subjected to defectiveness, right? So, for example, with my eyes, how much I can see. I can't see what is happening behind this wall. Okay? And similarly, if the power goes off, immediately power goes off. I can't even see what's happening just few inches away from me, right? So my senses are very much dependent on so many factors to give me knowledge. And even though they are dependent on so many factors, they don't give always correct information or correct knowledge. So since our senses are prone to give us defective knowledge, direct perception is not really the way which is reliable for absolute knowledge. It is good, it is useful to some extent, but it's not really the absolute way of receiving knowledge. So pratyaksha is useless in one way. Anumana is again based on nothing but our perception. Whatever we can perceive through our senses, based on that we have Anuman. Right? We have guesswork. But the best way actually in this world, if you see, even in today's day and in today's context, you know, if you want to see the statistics, which country has how many COVID cases, how many people are actually sick with corona, or how many people have died in every country, the only reliable way is Shabda. Right? You hear the news or you actually see on the internet, that gives you the correct numbers, right? Roughly correct numbers. But if you go to each and every country, visit each and every city, it'll be very tedious job, right? Direct perception is going to be very, very tedious job. And still, you may not have correct numbers, because once you finish one city, go to second cities, the previous city's numbers will change. Right? But Shabda Pramana is the one which gives you correct information, reliable information. And in this case, we can rely Shabda Pramana in spiritual life, because this Shabda is not coming from some news channel or some materially motivated people. It's coming from the Supreme Lord. It's coming through the chain of Parampara system, where people are actually without any material motives.
Okay, got it, Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah, just to make sure I got what you're saying that of all the processes of acquiring knowledge, Shabda Praman is by far the best because it's not from this world. And yeah, and like a devotee can utilize Shabda Praman because it's not like motivated in any way, I guess. It gives you the truth.
Shabda Pramana is, it's not from this world. The source of knowledge is not from this world.
Okay.
The scriptures, they are not from this world. They are actually coming from the Supreme Lord. But Shabda Pramana is very much even current in this material world, because that is the way all the information gets transformed in this world, right?
Okay, yes, Prabhu, yeah.
If, for example, I hear there's the earthquake in India, I don't have any doubt. If I get a news, oh, there was the earthquake, in Mumbai. Now, if I see it on news channel, I know, I take it for granted that it's true. So it's a Shabda Pramana, right? So Shabda Pramana is actually goes on even in our modern context a lot. Now we simply accept a lot of things based on Shabda, though we don't go to cross check on our own whether it's true or not. We simply accept it.
Okay, got it, Prabhu. Thank you.
Really.
Sirisha Mataji, you can go next.
Sure, Prabhuji. Actually, I have one question, but after asking Shivacha, I want one more question regarding to Shivacha's question, Prabhuji. First, I'll ask because it's continuation. Prabhuji, without Shabda Pramana, anyone can attain self-realized? I mean, by themselves, I mean, everybody has to go with Shabda Pramana to realize, I mean, self-realized and our relationship with our God and what is the purpose of life. We definitely need Shabda Pramana, or is there any other way?
Okay, let me ask you, is there any other way to learn ABCD without hearing from anyone the words ABCD? How do we learn ABCD?
Yes.
We don't learn anything without Shabda. In this world, even getting the material wisdom or knowledge, we need Shabda. A person who's born deaf automatically becomes dumb, though he has the faculty to speak, but cannot learn to speak because he doesn't have ability to hear. It's a well-known fact. A person who's born deaf automatically becomes dumb, cannot speak anything.
Why I ask this, because you said like by the example you said, like without knowing the science, anybody can water the root, they will get benefit, they'll get the same result, and by knowing the science they'll water the root, they'll get the same result, you said, right? That's why somehow I got confused and I asked this question, Prabhu.
Yeah. So that is in relationship to jnana, not in relationship to Shabda Praman. So Shabda Praman and Jnana, there are two different things. Okay. Shabda Praman is a praman or way of proving anything. And Jnana is the theoretical wisdom or knowledge. What we do, why we do, that is called Jnana. But Shabda Pramana is a way of proving or understanding something.
Sure, Prabhuji, thank you. But my original question is, what is that mean? What is the difference or what is the connection between the devotional service and sadhana bhakti?
Bhakti is translated as devotional service. Okay. So bhakti means devotional service. When you say sadhana bhakti means the regulated devotional service. I'm following certain regulation to execute the devotional service. So devotional service means bhakti. So when you're talking about sadhana bhakti means we are talking about regulated devotional service. So right now I don't like to chant Hare Krishna, but I follow as a regulation to chant every day 16 rounds. So that is sadhana bhakti or regulated devotional service. But when I actually become purified from all the anarthas, then I love to chant. So that is not sadhana bhakti. Then it becomes raganuga bhakti or prema bhakti.
Sure, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Satyananda Prabhu, you can go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, this question is about Ramayana. So when we were talking about Ramayana with kids, one of the kid questioned that how come Mother Kaikeyi, Sumitra and Kausalya, when they eat the sweet rice, how could they give birth to children? So how to explain them, Prabhu? My mom is he's the only son. He likes brothers and sisters. So how come my mom eat sweet kheer? She don't get any babies. So how to tell them, make them understand?
Well, explaining children, it should be done in a way that they can appreciate. So just explain that this kheer was not ordinary kheer.
Oh, okay.
The kheer came out of the sacrificial fire. It came from yajna. It was given by the demigods, by the god. The gods came and gave the magical kheer, by drinking which or by eating that they became actually pregnant. And children can actually relate to it because you see that is what all the modern fictitious novels or movies talk about, right? Some magical things they talk about, right? So I mean, of course I didn't see, but I keep hearing about like Harry Potter's movies, right? So there's a lot of magic in that, and therefore even elder people, they like to see that, right?
Yes.
So children can actually very much relate to the magic. So you say, yeah, it's magical kheer.
Oh, okay.
We don't have that magical kheer here now.
Yeah. And other question, Prabhu, like King Dasharatha have 3 wives, right? So that one also, how to explain them?
Just explain them that even if you read ancient history, the kings used to have a lot of wives. Many queens they used to have, right? Even if you read Western history, the kings had many, many wives. So similarly, King Dasharath had many wives.
Oh, okay.
Which was the system prevalent before, but it's no more acceptable now in the society. But that time it was acceptable.
Yeah, that's what my friend asked me about this, so I don't know how to. We talked about Ramayana, everything is done. Then the boy asking about all these questions. So just want to know from you, like how to explain to kids about this.
Yeah, kids, we can give simple. Whether this was prevalent in the ancient times, but it's no more acceptable. It was allowed before.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, I'm sorry, I'm not too sure if there's somebody else who's raising their hand. No. Prabhu, I was just thinking that can we also explain, like in Bhagavad Gita, like the how the soul comes through the rain and stays in the grain of the family, and when the person eats the grain. So is that something that we can... Shivacha is laughing. He's saying, how will you tell all this to a small kid? But is that explanation fine for adults at least?
Yeah, Maraji, I think we have discussed this many times before also.
Yeah.
So it's actually a perfect science. It is actually a science. No, the rains, they actually they produce the grains, but not all the rains actually produce grains. There's only a specific kind of rain which produces grains. And Krishna refers that as in Bhagavad Gita as Parajanya rain. Parajanya, the Ansambhava. So Parajanya is a kind of a rain which produces Anna, which produces grains. So the whole cycle Prabhupada explains in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. There are 5 kinds of fires and 5 kinds of oblations in the fire. So it begins with faith as the oblation into the fire of heavenly planets or moon. You can say moon or heavenly planets. They are like, heavenly regions. So a person who has faith in heavenly regions, okay, so faith is like oblation and heavenly regions are like fire. That brings a person the result of attaining the that enables a person to actually perform yajna. So when a person performs yajna, offers oblation in the fire, he attains the heavenly planets. And in heavenly planets, a person is enjoying. He becomes an enjoyer on the moon. Okay, so by the faith, he actually can go to heavenly planets and he become enjoyer on the moon. And when the punya, as Krishna says, Shine punya marte lokam, when the punya is exhausted, the person actually falls from the heavenly planets and becomes the rain, which comes to the earth and produces grains. And the grains are eaten by the man, which forms the semen. So the living entity in the grain takes the shelter of the semen, and through that again injected in the womb of a female, and then develops a body. And again, being born, the person develops faith in the heavenly planets and again begin the same cycle.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Prabhuji, if it is not one more question, maybe I'll ask tomorrow if it is late, Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhu. Sorry, Madhuri.
Can I ask Prabhu or can I wait for tomorrow?
No, Madhuri, you can go ahead.
Prabhuji, while we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam introduction, and we got this doubt. I will read this. After Chaitanya Mahaprabhu take sannyas order, he traveled to Vrindavan. So for 3 continuous days, he traveled in the Radha Desh, places where the Ganges do not flow. What is that, Prabhuji? No, we didn't understand that. Can you please explain what is Radha Desh and why it specifically mentioned places where the Ganges does not flow in the brackets?
It's not Radha Desh, it's called Radha Desh. Actually, in the actual pronunciation, Radhadesh. It's not Radhadesh. So Radhadesh is a part of Bengal where the Ganges do not flow. You know, or not just Bengal, but Bengal and Utkala. You know that Orissa. So their Ganges do not flow. So Lord Chaitanya, he wandered for 3 days in Radhadesh, you know, and the places where Gangas do not flow, simply to deliver the people in those regions, because it's believed that wherever the holy rivers don't flow, that place is considered impious. So any place where there is no holy river flowing, you know, that place is actually considered impious. So since Ganga doesn't flow in that region, Radhadesh, though Ganga flows through the Bengal but doesn't flow in the Radhadesh district, therefore that place is considered impious. But Lord Chaitanya, being, you know, roaming in that place, delivered the peoples in that region, because by simply seeing Lord Chaitanya, people were delivered uh, from the material existence. And every place where Lord Chaitanya went, that actually became a holy tirtha.
Oh, nice to hear, Prabhu. We thought Radha Desh, then we got confused. And Prabhu, in that case, there are so many places like towns and everything. We don't see the holy rivers, right, Prabhuji? Then all these places, I mean, in India especially, I'm asking, all the places are impious. Then we can understand like that.
In one way, yes, because you'll see any city, of course, by the influence of Kali Yuga, even the cities on the bank of Ganga have become, you know, polluted. You know, like if you see the Kolkata city, it is actually hellish. You know, slaughterhouses and so many things. You know, liquor and brothels, everything goes on. All the sinful activities go on, even on the bank of River Ganga. That's actually the influence of Kali Yuga. But in general, wherever the Ganga flows, people are relatively more pious compared to other places where the holy rivers don't flow. Like even in India, if you go to Mumbai city and you go to Nasik, you will find tremendous difference. You know, a lot of difference in people. So the very fact that people who live on the bank of, you know, holy river, they do have some you know, betterment compared to people who are actually not living on the bank of some holy river. Of course, Kaluga's progress is polluted everything, but still there is a lot of visibility, a lot of difference.
Nice to know, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Mata. So I think we can stop here now. Thank you very much, everyone. Vansha kalpatarubhyascha